It began like any ordinary morning, but by sunset, a 16-year-old girl would become the face of an impossible miracle. On Flight 227, bound from Los Angeles to Seattle, the passengers were relaxed, the skies clear, and the engines purred with mechanical perfection. No one aboard had the faintest idea that, within hours, the fate of 180 lives would rest in the trembling hands of a teenage girl who had never touched an aircraft control in her life. Her name was Emily Carter, 16, quiet, intelligent, shy, and utterly unprepared for what destiny had in store that day. Chapter 1. The ordinary morning, Emily had never been on a plane alone before. Her father, a decorated Air Force pilot, had arranged the trip to visit her aunt in Seattle. "You'll be fine," he said with a reassuring smile that hid a touch of pride. Emily, clutching her boarding pass, smiled nervously. "I wish you were flying this one, Dad," he chuckled. "Just remember, sweetheart, flying is about trust. Trust the plane, trust the pilots, and never forget, calm minds make the best decisions." Those words would echo later in her mind like a guiding light in the darkness. The morning sun shimmered over the LAX runway as passengers boarded Flight 227, a sleek twin-engine passenger jet with 180 souls aboard. The captain, Robert Hayes, a veteran with 25 years of flying experience, greeted passengers at the entrance. His co-pilot, Mark Jensen, checked the flight instruments with quiet precision. Emily took her window seat near row 14A. The hum of engines comforted her as the jet began taxiing for takeoff. She gazed outside, clouds like cotton castles floating against a blue horizon. It was peaceful, perfect. No one could have guessed that in less than 2 hours, peace would turn into chaos. Chapter 2. The calm before the storm. 2 hours into the flight, Flight 227 reached cruising altitude. Passengers relaxed, reading, sleeping, watching movies. Emily had her headphones in, sketching in her journal. The seatbelt light was off. Everything seemed normal. Inside the cockpit, Captain Hayes and co-pilot Jensen discussed turbulence near the Oregon border. Nothing alarming. Standard procedure. Then came the first tremor. A slight vibration rippled through the cabin. Emily looked up. The overhead lights flickered once, then stabilized. A few passengers exchanged glances, but the attendant smiled reassuringly. The captain's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, just a bit of turbulence ahead. Please fasten your seatbelts." But it wasn't turbulence. Chapter 3. The sudden silence. At 31,000 feet, one of the engines gave a loud metallic crack. A warning alarm pierced through the cockpit. Captain Hayes immediately took control. "Engine 2's failing, shut it down," Jensen shouted. The plane lurched violently. Drinks spilled, passengers gasped. Within seconds, the right engine went silent. The captain switched to manual control, stabilizing the descent. "Mayday. Mayday, this is Flight 227. We've lost Engine 2. Requesting immediate vector to Portland." But as air traffic control began responding, the unthinkable happened. The captain's breathing became heavy, his face pale. "Mark, my chest," he muttered. "Captain? Captain?" Jensen reached over, panic rising. Within seconds, Captain Hayes collapsed against the control yoke. The plane dipped sharply to the left. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. Screams filled the cabin. Chapter 4. The call for help. The intercom crackled. "This is your first officer." Captain Hayes is unresponsive. "Please remain seated and keep your seatbelts fastened." His voice shook. He tried to stabilize the aircraft, but the stress of manual control combined with the altitude triggered panic. A flight attendant, Sarah, rushed to the cockpit. "Can we help?" she asked. "I need you to find out if there's anyone on board with flight experience, military, commercial, anything." Sarah ran down the aisle shouting, "Is there anyone here who can fly a plane? Any pilots? Please raise your hand." Silence. Then murmurs. No one. Emily's heart pounded as she looked around. That's when she noticed Sarah stopped by an older woman holding a small gold pendant, the captain's wife. She was silently crying. Chapter 5. The connection. Emily unbuckled slightly. "Ma'am, are you okay?" she asked softly. The woman nodded through tears. "My husband, Robert Hayes, he's flying this plane." Emily froze. The captain's wife was on board. Sarah returned moments later. No pilots, no flight experience. We're trying to patch through to air traffic control. Emily swallowed hard. Her mind flashed back to every moment she'd spent with her father in flight simulators. Not real planes, but digital cockpits where she had learned how the yoke moved, how altitude indicators worked, and what to do in emergencies. She whispered to herself, "Calm minds make the best decisions." Chapter 6. The Decision. The first officer's voice echoed again. "We're descending rapidly. Please stay calm. We're diverting to Portland International." Static, then silence. Sarah turned toward the passengers. "He's losing communication. Please, if anyone can help, we need to get to the cockpit." Emily stood up, her voice trembled, but her eyes didn't. I might be able to help." Everyone turned. A teenager standing in the middle of chaos. Sarah frowned. "Sweetheart, it's not safe. My dad's an Air Force pilot. He taught me about flight systems, controls, and emergencies. I've used simulators hundreds of times." The flight attendant hesitated, seconds ticking away like thunder. Finally, she nodded. "Come with me." Chapter 7. Into the cockpit. The cockpit door opened. The air was thick with tension. Co-pilot Jensen looked pale, sweat pouring down his face. "We're losing altitude. I can't stabilize pitch." Emily stepped in, heart racing. The captain was unconscious, lying to the side. She looked at the instrument panel and blinking red lights, altitude dropping. "Okay, I know this layout," she whispered. Jensen blinked in disbelief. "You're just a kid." "Then let me be a kid who helps," Emily said firmly. She grabbed the yoke gently. "Pulling up. Steady pressure, not jerky." The nose of the plane leveled slightly. Jensen stared, astonished. How did you—" "My dad used to say planes listen better to calm hands." For the first time in 10 minutes, the descent slowed. Chapter 8. Ground Control, Flight 227. "This is Portland Approach Control, do you copy?" Emily leaned toward the radio. "This is Emily Carter. We've lost the captain. The first officer is partially conscious. I'm helping stabilize the aircraft." There was stunned silence on the other end. Then a calm voice replied, "Emily, this is air traffic control. We're here with you. You're doing great. Can you tell us your altitude?" Emily read the numbers nervously. "We're at 14,000 feet and descending." "Okay, Emily, listen carefully. You're going to have to fly this plane down. We'll guide you step by step." Jensen, still conscious, managed a weak nod. "You can do this, kid." Chapter 9. The Fear. Within, as the minutes passed, Emily's hands began to shake. Her brain screamed, "I'm just a kid. I can't do this." But every time panic crept in, her father's voice echoed in her memory. "Calm minds make the best decisions." She inhaled deeply. Pushing her fear aside, the radio crackled again. "Emily, reduce your speed to 220 knots and start descending to 8,000 feet. Portland runway is clear." "I'm trying, but the control's heavy." "You're doing perfect. Just trust yourself." She gritted her teeth, pulling gently. The aircraft obeyed. Slowly, miraculously. Chapter 10. The Cabin Prays. Back in the cabin, silence reigned. Passengers held hands, whispering prayers. Some cried. Others stared at the ceiling, unable to believe that a teenager was flying the aircraft. Sarah walked down the aisle, comforting passengers. "She's doing it," she said softly. "She's really doing it." The captain's wife clutched her pendant tightly. "Robert, guide her," she whispered. The plane shuddered again. Another alarm blared. But Emily kept her focus. Chapter 11. The Night Horizon. The city lights of Portland began to flicker through the cockpit window, tiny diamonds beneath the twilight sky. "Portland Control to Flight 227. You're clear for emergency landing. Runway 10L, we'll have emergency crews waiting." Emily nodded. "Copy that." She wiped the sweat from her forehead. Jensen looked at her weakly. "You've got this. Line it up." "Easy on the throttle." Emily adjusted the flaps, aligning the glowing runway in the distance. Her heart hammered, her eyes locked. "Calm minds," she whispered again. Chapter 12. Descent of Hope. The altimeter ticked down 5,000 feet. 3,000, 2,000. Ground control's voice remained calm. You're lined up perfectly, Emily. Just keep her steady. Don't overcorrect. The passengers braced, eyes wide with fear and faith combined. Sarah, holding the intercom, whispered, "Everyone, please remain calm. We're about to land." Emily exhaled slowly, guiding the yoke with steady precision. The wheels extended with a mechanical groan. The runway lights grew brighter, closer. At 500 feet, turbulence hit. The plane jolted violently. Emily gasped, hands tightening. "Stay with me," she whispered to the aircraft as if it could hear her. To be continued. The runway loomed large, wind roaring, alarms blaring, hearts pounding. And at that final moment between sky and earth where fear meets faith, Emily Carter had to decide whether to trust herself or let go. Part 2 continues with the final descent, the landing that stunned the world, and the emotional aftermath that changed aviation history forever. The aircraft thundered through the clouds like a wounded bird. Runway lights stretched below, a glowing path of salvation and fear. In the cockpit, alarms screamed, the control column trembled, and the wind howled like a storm at sea. Emily Carter's face was pale, her eyes locked forward. The radio hissed. "Flight 227, you're looking good. You're clear to land, Emily. You've got this." "Copy," she whispered, barely audible. Behind her, co-pilot Jensen stirred weakly. "Flaps 30, gear down, steady." His voice was faint, but it gave her courage. Her small hands gripped the yoke tightly. Sweat beaded down her forehead. The plane dipped slightly. She corrected, breathing steadily. Calm minds make the best decisions. Her father's words echoed again, not as memory now, but as command. At 300 feet, the crosswinds hit. The plane wobbled violently. Passengers screamed. Emily's knuckles turned white. "Come on," she whispered, voice trembling. "Hold steady, please." Chapter 14, Touchdown. The runway raced toward them. A single second stretched into eternity. Emily pulled back gently. The aircraft's wheels kissed the asphalt. A violent jolt, then a bounce, then another impact. Rubber burned. Smoke trailed. The engines roared against the brakes. Inside the cabin, oxygen masks swung wildly. People shouted, cried, prayed. Emily pushed the thrust levers forward for a split second to level, then reversed thrust. Speed brakes. "Reverse on!" Jensen croaked, barely conscious. She obeyed instinctively. The jet screeched across the runway, decelerating. 130 knots. 100, 60, then silence. The aircraft slowed to a crawl. The engines whined down, and then it stopped. Dead center on the runway. For a moment, no one breathed. Then a collective scream of joy filled the cabin. Passengers cheering, crying, holding each other. Emily sat motionless, staring ahead, her hands frozen on the controls. She'd done it. A 16-year-old girl had landed a commercial passenger jet. Chapter 15. Aftermath of silence. The cockpit door opened. Sarah, the flight attendant, burst in, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You did it! Emily, you did it!" Emily turned slowly as if waking from a dream. "Is everyone okay?" Sarah nodded, sobbing. "Yes, everyone's alive." Fire trucks and ambulances rushed toward the plane, lights flashing red and white. Across the rain-slick runway, ground crews surrounded the jet as passengers began to disembark. The captain was still unconscious, but breathing. Paramedics stormed the cockpit and lifted him carefully onto a stretcher. Emily stepped aside, still in shock. Her legs trembled. Jensen, weak but alive, looked at her and whispered, "Kid, you saved us." Chapter 16. The world finds out by dawn. The news had spread across every television and phone screen on the planet. 16-year-old girl lands passenger jet. 180 lives saved. Reporters swarmed the Portland runway. The FAA, Air Force, and aviation experts all wanted to know how it was possible. Emily Carter, a quiet teenager from California, had done the unthinkable. When journalists found her sitting beside an ambulance wrapped in a silver thermal blanket, she wasn't smiling, she was crying softly. "Why are you crying?" a reporter asked. Emily looked up. "Because I was scared the whole time, but I didn't want anyone to know. That one sentence became the quote that defined her. Courage not as absence of fear, but mastery over it. Chapter 17. Reunion hours later at the hospital. Captain Robert Hayes regained consciousness. The first thing he asked was, "Did they make it?" A nurse smiled. "Yes, Captain." "The girl landed the plane." He blinked in confusion. "What girl?" When they showed him the news broadcast, his eyes filled with tears. "Emily Carter," he whispered. "I owe her my life." A day later, he requested to meet her. Emily stood awkwardly by the hospital window when the door opened. Captain Hayes, pale but smiling, entered assisted by a nurse. They just looked at each other for a long moment. He saluted. She burst into tears. He whispered, "You have the calm heart of a pilot. Never lose that." Chapter 18. The letter from her father. When Emily's father arrived from Los Angeles, he ran straight through the airport security gates until he found her sitting on a bench outside the hospital. He didn't say a word. He just hugged her, a long, tight, trembling hug. Later that night, as she rested, he handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter written in his neat handwriting. "Emily, you trusted yourself when the world was shaking. You remembered what flying really means. Not engines or buttons, but courage under pressure. I taught you how to fly in a simulator, but you taught me what it means to be truly brave." Read it 3 times before crying again, this time from Pride. Chapter 19. The investigation. The FAA launched a full investigation. How had a teenager managed to land a 180-seat passenger jet with minimal experience? Experts analyzed the black box recordings. They heard Emily's voice. Steady, calm, focused. Not a single scream. Not a single moment of panic. Veteran pilots listening to the tapes were moved to tears. Captain Hayes later told the inquiry, if she hadn't stepped into that cockpit when she did, Flight 227 would have gone down within minutes. The board officially concluded that Emily Carter's quick thinking and composure under pressure saved all 180 lives. Aboard, she was awarded the Civilian Medal of Bravery, the youngest recipient in U.S. aviation history. Chapter 20. The world's reaction around the world. People were mesmerized. News anchors called her the miracle teen. Pilots said she had instincts beyond her years. Social media exploded with her photos. The shy girl in a hoodie, standing beside a massive aircraft she had saved. When asked how she did it, she simply said, "Someone had to try, and no one else did." Her humility inspired millions. Aviation schools sent her letters offering scholarships. Even NASA invited her for a tour. But Emily didn't see herself as a hero. She said, "I didn't save the plane. The plane saved me." Chapter 21. Flashback. The moment of doubt weeks later, during a televised interview, Emily described what went through her mind during those last 60 seconds of descent. "I was terrified. Every second I thought we'd crash. But when I saw the runway lights, something inside me went quiet. I thought, if this is it, I want to meet it calmly." And somehow, that calm was enough. The host asked her, "What's the first thing you'll do now?" She smiled shyly. "Maybe learn how to really fly." Chapter 22. The captain's message. Months later, when Captain Hayes recovered, he invited Emily to join him in the cockpit of a simulator identical to Flight 227's. She sat in the captain's seat for the first time. He pointed at the yoke. "Go ahead. Take her up." She did, smoothly, confidently. The simulator lifted into virtual sky. Hayes smiled. "You've got the hands of a pilot. You ever thought about making this your life?" Emily nodded slowly. "Maybe someday." He looked out at the digital clouds and whispered, "The sky remembers its heroes." Chapter 23. The documentary. A year later, a film crew recreated the event for a global documentary titled Miracle in the Sky. Emily participated only reluctantly, preferring to stay out of the spotlight. But when she finally saw the finished film, the recreation of her trembling hands on the controls, the desperate faces of passengers, the calm voice on the radio, she cried quietly in the theater. Because for the first time, she realized it hadn't been just luck. It had been destiny. Chapter 24. The lesson in one of her last interviews before disappearing from public life. Emily was asked what she had learned from the experience. She said, "Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about hearing fear whisper in your ear and flying anyway." Those words echoed across classrooms, training academies, and motivational stages for years. Pilots quoted her in lectures. Teachers wrote it on classroom walls, and her father, now retired, smiled every time he heard it. Chapter 25. 10 years later. 10 years passed. Emily Carter became Captain Emily Carter, pilot for Horizon Airlines. Her first commercial flight took her over the same airspace where Flight 227 had once faltered. As the plane climbed smoothly, she looked out at the horizon and smiled. Beside her, a young co-pilot asked, "Nervous for your first flight as captain?" She shook her head gently. Not nervous, grateful. She adjusted the controls with effortless grace. Outside, the morning sun painted the clouds gold, just as it had that fateful day. The radio crackled softly, and for a moment she thought she heard her father's voice. "Calm minds make the best decisions," she smiled. "Always, Dad, always." The jet soared higher, cutting through the light, a reminder that even the smallest hands can hold the sky when guided by courage. Epilogue. The miracle remembered. At the entrance of Portland International Airport, there stands a bronze plaque. It reads, "In honor of Emily Carter, who showed the world that bravery knows no age." On this runway, she turned fear into flight. Everyday travelers pass by it, often pausing for a moment. Some whisper prayers, others simply smile, but all of them feel the same thing: hope. Because they know that on one miraculous day, a 16-year-old girl proved that faith, courage, and calm can move mountains, or land a plane when the sky itself falls silent.